If there is any single element that Paul fails to prove, he loses. And so basically, Logan Paul has to prove that Coffeezilla made a false statement of fact about him. Logan Paul's case against Coffeezilla is totally cooked because he can't prove that Coffeezilla's statements about him were false.
Breaking news. Logan Paul's battle with Coffeezilla takes a dangerous turn. Logan Paul, once a social media giant and crypto entrepreneur, is now facing a catastrophic downfall.
Defamation case ultimately says the term scam should be defined. This could kill Logan Paul's defamation case against Coffeezilla.
His ongoing legal battle against Coffeezilla is taking a serious toll, and it could completely destroy his reputation and career. Logan Paul is not only losing in court, but he's also at risk of facing huge legal repercussions for fraud and defamation. Let's dive deep into the latest updates of this saga and what could be the final blow for Logan. The most recent development in Logan Paul's legal woes is the court's decision to pause his defamation case against Coffeezilla for mediation. In simple terms, this means both sides are being asked to resolve their issues outside of court. The court has set a deadline of November 10th, 2025 for both parties to come to an agreement. By October 10th, 2025, Logan Paul and Coffeezilla's legal teams are required to submit a joint report to update the court on their progress, including developments in another ongoing case, Don Holland vs. Coffeezilla, Incorporated. The judge has made it clear that no new legal motions, hearings, or witness questioning will take place until the report is submitted. This is a major pause in the legal process, and things are looking far from good for Logan. But this isn't just a minor setback. Let's talk about the potential fallout if Logan Paul loses this battle, especially in connection with his WWE career. WWE has a very strict policy when it comes to its public image. They don't want to be associated with legal troubles, particularly those involving scams or fraud. Just look at Brock Lesnar's time away from WWE. His absence was linked to his own legal issues. And Vince McMahon, the head of WWE, was forced to step down after allegations against him. If someone as big as Vince can be removed from power, then Logan Paul, with all his controversies, is definitely at risk of losing his WWE contract if this case goes the wrong way. This could be the end of Logan's WWE run, and we're watching it unfold. But let's rewind for a second and see how Logan ended up here. The beginning of Logan Paul's downfall traces back to his failed crypto project, Coffeezilla. Logan promised fans an exciting NFT game where they could buy animal eggs, hatch them, and collect rare animals that would earn them money. He hyped it up, claiming it was a revolutionary blockchain project that would yield rare hybrid animals and tokens. But here's the truth. None of that worked. Developers were unpaid, the project went nowhere, and thousands of fans lost their hard-earned money. That's when Coffeezilla, the internet's most famous investigator, stepped in, exposing Coffeezilla for the scam that it was. He revealed how Logan Paul was directly involved in this fraudulent scheme. Fans weren't the only ones who lost money. Many people, including small-time investors, poured their hard-earned cash into the project, hoping to make a quick profit. People who could barely afford to lose any money at all were scammed by Logan Paul. This isn't just about billionaires losing a few dollars. It's about ordinary people being robbed of their savings. Even Joe Rogan, on his podcast, directly confronted Logan about how he betrayed the trust of people who couldn't afford to lose what they invested. Logan's response to all of this? He didn't apologize. Instead, he tried to play the victim and fire back at Coffeezilla, suing him and others who exposed him. But the problem is, Coffeezilla wasn't just guessing. He had solid evidence that Logan Paul was involved in fraudulent behavior, and that's something Logan couldn't deny. This is where Logan's reputation began to crumble, and his efforts to play the victim only made things worse. Now, back to the courtroom drama. Logan's defamation case is at risk of falling apart. Logan is struggling to prove that Coffeezilla's claims were false. According to legal analysts, Logan has to prove that Coffeezilla knowingly made false statements with malice, which is a nearly impossible task. The truth is, the evidence against Logan Paul is overwhelming, and it's backed by solid proof. Coffeezilla's claims are grounded in facts, and Logan's attempts to turn the situation around are getting increasingly desperate. But that's not all. There's another angle to this that could be even worse for Logan. The case hinges on the definition of scam. If the court determines that Logan's actions in Coffeezilla are actually classified as fraud, it would kill Logan's defamation case entirely. If Logan can't prove that Coffeezilla's statements about him were false, and the court decides that his actions indeed amounted to fraud, then Logan is finished. And things are getting even worse for Logan Paul. Remember the time when BBC News tried to interview Logan about Coffeezilla? Instead of answering their questions, Logan pulled a stunt and sent a lookalike to mock the interview.
If there is any single element that Paul fails to prove, he loses. And so basically, Logan Paul has to prove that Coffeezilla made a false statement of fact about him to a third party with actual malice. And he also has to prove that the statement was a kind of statement that would cause reputational harm, and that Logan Paul, in fact, did suffer reputational harm as a result of the thing that Coffeezilla said about him. Defamation case ultimately says the term scam should be defined. This could kill Logan Paul's defamation case against Coffeezilla. And that's because remember how I said earlier that Logan Paul has to prove every element of defamation in order to win. So if the definition that they land on is basically what amounts to actual fraud, then Logan Paul's case against Coffeezilla is totally cooked because he can't prove that Coffeezilla's statements about him were false. And that means he can't prove all of the elements of defamation, which means that Paul loses.
The BBC reporters had traveled a long way to get a side of the story, but Logan wasn't interested in facing the truth. Instead, he made a joke out of the situation, sending a decoy who pretended to be him, leaving the reporters to deal with a massive prank. That move was beyond disrespectful to both the journalists and the fans waiting for answers. This behavior highlights Logan's deep flaws, especially when it comes to accountability. If he can manipulate a media outlet like the BBC, imagine how easily he could manipulate his own fans. This prank shows just how far Logan is willing to go to avoid taking responsibility for his actions. His behavior is disrespectful not only to journalists, but also to his followers. Fans deserve transparency, not pranks and excuses. But here's where it gets even more concerning. Logan has continued to make these dramatic, bizarre moves in an attempt to distract from the ongoing legal drama. From weird rants about his fight with Joe Rogan to videos where he rambles incoherently, Logan has been spiraling. He even took to social media to claim that he was bringing weapons with him on a trip to Austin, Texas, to confront Rogan. His behavior has grown increasingly erratic, and now the police have gotten involved. Logan's attempts to harass Coffeezilla, deflect blame, and mock the entire situation aren't working. His reputation is in tatters. Fans, who once saw him as a successful entrepreneur, are now questioning his integrity. The WWE, his major sponsorships, and his entire brand are at risk of collapsing. If Logan loses this case, he could lose everything: his career, his business empire, and his public image. The message is clear. When you scam your fans, try to silence your critics, and fail to take responsibility for your actions, there's no way out. Logan Paul is on the edge of a massive downfall, and this case against Coffeezilla could be the final nail in the coffin. What do you think about this situation? Do you think Logan Paul will finally face accountability for his actions? Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more updates on this case as it unfolds.